Hello and welcome to the match preview for the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg tie against Southampton at St Mary's. Apologies for the delay. I think a couple of internet technical issues. It's probably because all the internet's being used by those Twitter spaces by all the Everton fans having to go, whinging, bored to go, Frank to stay, whoever, whatever.
Hi, Frank. Hi.
But we'll not think of them because they're not our rivals anymore.
No, and we don't care.
Obviously, rivals that are down there. Obviously, Southampton is one of them. Whether or not you could count them as unlucky to not get anything out of the game against Aston Villa on Saturday, was something. But I'm sure if you watched the match highlight, you would have seen Nathan Jones just drooling on about it.
Did he? I didn't watch any of the highlights, to be honest. So
yeah.
For those that may not have got the pun that I put in there, obviously the Southampton game was stopped for a while in the first half.
Yes,
because there was a drone flying over the stadium.
See, I didn't even know that. So there you go. That's part of the joy of being a Newcastle fan these days. I don't have to really watch Southampton's games if I don't want to, or if I'm busy that day or something. It's like it doesn't really matter.
It's fine. Sometimes jokes just fly over you.
Yay! That's two.
I think you should move swiftly on.
Well, we will move swiftly on, and we will obviously look at the fact that we are going to be back at Southampton. I think everyone was in agreement the last time when we did play them, although the result was very comprehensive. The performance, not so much. And it was probably a game that probably didn't match the result from that sense. So it is one of those ones where we need to look at and go, was that just a flash in the pan? Yeah. Could we do it again? Can we play poorly and still get those results? It's something that we need to look at. And I also believe Southampton have also recalled Jan Bednarek from his loan against Aston Villa. I'm not too sure, though, whether or not he has played for Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup. That's the one thing I didn't have time to check, but because that may be the case that if he has, then he's ineligible to play in these ties, but he can still play for them in the Premier League. Let's go first to you, Michael. Do you see Southampton as a challenge, and who are their threats?
Yeah, I do see them as a challenge. I think it will be tough. I think they're going to sacrifice the FA Cup for this. Like, I think, let's say that we did that against Sheffield Wednesday, because that would be just be a bit silly to say. But I think they are going to focus on this, and I think they are going to try and make it tough because they know that we're going to come and give them a game. So as for their threats, they're such a young team, aren't they? I mean, they really are. I mean, everyone goes about how young Arsenal squad are, but surely Southampton, I think maybe Ward-Prowse and a couple of others push them over the average age, don't they? So, I mean, they're going to make it tough. And after what happened on Saturday, it's up to us to break them down because they're just going to come and just defend for their lives, as simple as that. They're going to want to keep it tight because they know they've got to go to our place and put with that cauldron that we're going to create next Tuesday. So they're going to make it tough.
But do you not feel that Southampton may feel as if they have to get a positive result in their home tie to be able to stand a chance in the second leg?
It's tough for them because what would be? I mean, that's what we were saying before. What 3-0 would they? I mean, what's gonna be a good tie? A good result for them? 3-0.
Well, no, but them winning.
Winning is what? I mean, it's only half time, isn't it? So you can be winning at half time, and then they've got to come and face us. I mean, that's the best thing about having the away leg first for us is that the fact that they've got to do all the work. We just got to sit there and just let them. Simple as that. We're not going to get blown away by them because they're not that sort of team. So all we can do is keep it. I mean, go on.
I think Carl said the Saints need a 2-goal lead to stand a chance in the second leg. Not necessarily too sure if you look at our goal scoring record.
Yeah, I mean, I think with that again, we had this conversation about 3 or 4 months ago, at least good 6 weeks before the World Cup came about, and we were saying then where someone's going to get a hiding from us sooner or later, and then we went and gave a couple of teams a hiding. I think it's got to a point now where with the team where Eddie's going to go, we're going to have to start putting these away, lads, something like that. And I think, as we'll probably come to, people are going to start getting changed around if not. So I can't even see a 2-goal lead being good enough for them. I think we can afford to be poor, because I think if we're poor come next Tuesday, we can turn it around at our own place 100%, and they know that. So they're on a hiding to nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
So you think it could be similar to what it was at this? Because at the start of the season, we've got the good result against Forest, but then we went on this run of drawing games, and then all of a sudden we then started, we beat Fulham, and then it's sort of like rolled on from there, where you just got positive result after positive result after positive result. So it is one of those things of you just need the rubber, the green, a result to go right for you in terms of that, and then you're sort of like on a roll again. I know necessarily people might think and Eddie did mention it. He says, look, it's not ideal. He wanted to be in the FA Cup, sure, but I do think the fact that we do not have the game on Saturday does help, because it does mean because some of the players did look tired. On that sense, it does do that. Now I actually don't. It's one of those ones to see. Nathan Jones may decide that he wants to stick with the same 11, or the majority of the same 11 to try and keep consistency or whatever going. In the FA Cup, he might think that that's a better option than resting some of those players and then them coming back in and maybe not having like the match day focus. So there's those sort of things that you need to look at on there. For me, when you're looking at, would you say the main, and we'll go to Mark on this one, would you say the main threat for Southampton are James Ward-Prowse?
100%.
And Che Adams?
Exactly. Or Armstrong.
I think I said it on way back when we did the preview for the league game against Southampton. Che Adams is a good striker on his day, in fairness, but he just doesn't have enough of them. I think that was pretty much the phrase I used at the time. I stand by that. But it's a cup tie, isn't it? You only need to turn up and maybe one of these 2 games, and it could be a difference maker. And obviously, James Ward-Prowse is, his threat is well documented and for good reason. So we've got to be very careful we don't give away stupid free kicks. Having said that, you can't always legislate for that kind of thing. Sometimes you do need to take a player down. It is an added threat that Southampton have, but the way I think the way you've got to look at this game almost, and God forbid I try and tell Eddie Howe what to do, Christ Almighty. But I would like to think something along the lines of, maybe one weapon in his arsenal is like, well, out of all the teams you could have drawn in a semi-final, in a cup competition, surely you'd want to be the team that's bottom of the league. I know they've had a manager change, all that, blah blah blah. All right, Bednarek might come back in. By the way, I did check; he's not cup tied for the game, so I suppose he could come back in. But regardless, I know we've got a bit of a scoring drought right now, etc. But we should be confident for this game. Easier said than done, because I'm not necessarily like swimming in confidence myself for it. And it partly is because some of these goals have dried up, and we'll get on to talking about potential lineup later. So I don't want to delve too deep into that right now, but you just do feel like maybe something needs to change a little bit. Maybe for the players themselves, just to freshen things up a bit, but also to counteract the way that the opposition are coming up against us now and what they're doing. And it's hard to blame Eddie for not changing things, because at the end of the day, it's been working. Why would you? The key now is, now that it maybe isn't working, how do you address that?
Now, see, we'll move on from what was looking at the opponent, which, if you actually look at Southampton, Nathan Jones seems to be getting the results in the cup rather than the league.
Yes.
But I think at some point that needs to change, because the more and more the games go on, they do need to look at starting a change and getting the results in the league rather than the cup. In terms of when you look at it, would you? Yeah, it's a stupid question, but does Nick Pope start?
Absolutely.
God, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Prowse, isn't it? He might be one of the best, set ball pieces players in the Premiership, but he's coming up against the best goalkeeper in the Premiership. So, that's gonna cancel each other out with a bit of luck, isn't it? So, but absolutely, you don't start, doing the whole. Well, I started with Dubravka, so no, none of that nonsense. You start with your best team now. Never mind loyalty. So yeah, Nick Pope starts. Simple as that.
Now we'll move to the back line. Do you keep the back line the same?
I think so, yes. The reason, it's not an option, unfortunately, because he's injured, but obviously there's Matty Targett. There is an argument to be made in games like this where, and I keep banging on about this in a lot of these previews, where we're probably going to have more of the ball. Do we need Dan Burn at left back, who is probably a bit more defensive-minded than a Matty Targett? Now, it's a pointless question to ask right now, in fairness, because Matty Targett's not fit, and I don't see anyone else who can really come into the defence right now. So for me, they probably do stay the same.
But in fairness, in the last 2 games, Dan Burn has been getting forward a hell of a lot more.
Yeah, he definitely did get solos, didn't he? Yeah.
So against Palace he did, and he was against Fulham.
And
arguably against Leicester in the last cup game, because obviously that's where the goal came from.
Of course.
How do you change one of the back 5 of the best defense in the Premier League? I mean, you wouldn't. I mean, you just
the other thing which Dan Burn gives is it gives the freedom of Trippier to be able to be more free in coming forward, because we don't have that sort of recognised defensive midfielder that can drop back to make it a 3 anyway. Which ideally I think would be something that Eddie I would probably prefer to have in that midfield 3, to then allow overlapping wing backs on either side, but it's just playing with what it is at the time. In the midfield, is there anyone? I think it's a given Bruno will start.
100%.
Controversial, but Longstaff starts.
For me, yes.
And then the option is we've got 2 midfielders left that are fit. Who goes there, Joe Willock or Joe Linton?
For me, it's Joe Linton in this particular game. But I'm also not dropping Joe Willock. Just to throw the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, go on.
Right, okay. So then we move to the front 3. Miggy,
yeah. I mean, there's no other option on that side, really. Murphy, who, in fairness, when he's come on in recent games, has looked a bit brighter and a bit better, but he never seems to. Whenever he seems to start a game, he's always a bit anonymous for me.
You could put Maxi on the left. Sorry, on the right.
You could. Don't think Eddie Howe will, though.
So it's Miggy. That'll be starting there. Wilson or Isak?
For this game, I think I'm going to caveat this. I would play Wilson, but only if he's actually feeling up to it, because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but from the outside looking in, it seems like this illness that he's came back from kind of must have knocked him for 6, because he hasn't really looked right ever since coming back. Not 100% right. So it really does depend. But if he genuinely is feeling an awful lot better, and maybe he's just a bit out of form, and that maybe is down to why he hasn't contributed quite as much in the past few games, I would show faith and stick with him.
Michael?
Well, I'm going to be controversial and say, is it time to change formation as well? Is it time maybe to put, for a team that are shaky at best, who are bottom of the Premier League, is it time to put Wilson and Isak together and go 4-4-2? I mean, is it time for a change? Are we getting to that point now where teams are paying us the due respect that we deserve, quite rightly? And is it time to shake things up because for a change of person?
Oh, is Michael frozen for you as well there?
Yeah.
I'll just, I mean,
I think one of either Wilson or Isak have. No, actually, no. It's probably one of the wingers. Yeah, Mickey's heard about it and went 4-4-2. Nah, not having that.
I mean, just building on what Michael was obviously saying there, though. I think.
Oh, is he back? Yeah.
Oh, I think he is back. There you go.
He's back. Mickey set his internet free.
Yes. Go on. Sorry, I could hear you, but I couldn't see you then for a minute.
Okay. No, I was just going to say I actually love the idea of playing Isak in the 10. But given that this tie is over 2 legs, I'd like 45 minutes first, just to see how things go. If we're dominating the game, I think you make a big call at half time. If we're dominating the game and it's 0-0, bring off a midfielder, put Isak in the 10, and play Wilson in front of him. That's what I would like to see. Well, actually, no. I tell a lie. I'd like to be 2-0 up by half time and not to worry about it. But yeah.
But do you necessarily need to bring off a midfielder?
Not necessarily, but I think that's what I would do. That's what I would personally like.
Depending on whatever wing, you could make this. Yeah, because I said depending on how this goes, you've got options where you could still go to a 4-2-3 and still have Miggy on one side and another on the other side. Let's say if it is the 2 holding midfielders are Longstaff and Bruno, and then you put Isak there and Joe Linton's the one who's on there. So you've still got that option. Now that also means you've got Joe Linton in there to give the backup to Dan Burn.
Yeah.
So that is an option. For me, though, the way I would look at it, and it's sort of like, yeah, Wilson's 2-0 up. So yeah, that am I voting on that one?
Yeah.
But in the same sense, Michael also wanted Isak, so it could be a draw all round, because I would start Isak just purely because I think he's the fresher of the 2 players.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather put Wilson on the bench to give him that out time, and then at least he's on the bench to come on if needs be, and we can do that. So changing it a different way.
Yeah.
So there's still that option to do the 4-2-3-1 like we did in the Fulham game.
Yeah.
But I just think if we looked at the 2 players, because we looked a different side when Isak came on for Wilson against Palace.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking in that case, start that way.
Yeah, I can actually completely see the argument for that. And if that's what happens, if that's what Eddie chooses, I definitely wouldn't be mad with that at all. I don't know. Part of me is just like, I'd like to keep the same team, see how it goes. Like I say, 45 minutes in, if it's 0-0, but we're dominating the game, bring on Isak, maybe even bring on Maxi at half time, or give it 5 or 10 minutes and bring him on. Holding something back on the bench. Having said that, like you say, I can totally see the argument the other way around where, well, if Wilson's on the bench, he can still come on. You can still play both of them together, so that the argument's there to be had.
Yeah.
And the fact is, if you've got a fit, raring to go, pacey Isak, you've then got a defensive backline for Southampton that'll probably be tiring towards the end.
Yeah.
And may not really fancy the physical battle that they're going to have with Wilson.
Quite possibly.
Later on in the game. So there's that as well. Because for me, when I've watched Isak, he's got the pace. He runs at that. He can actually duck out of a challenge quite well in terms of that. So he's quite good at that. And he's not afraid to go wide if needs be in that sense, which is, I agree, the number 10 is probably the better suited slot in that sense, do that. But I just think if you've got that fluidity where you could maybe mix and match. Now, that's where, if we're going to go to the left-hand side, and I know, given the answer, what Mark says, that he doesn't want to drop Joe Willock, that his answer will be Joe Willock in there. My viewpoint is I would rest Joe Willock, just because I think the poor lad needs it. And I would actually bring in Maxi.
Yeah.
Again, I can completely understand the argument. And I'm kind of there myself, because I'm saying, if it's not working, bring them on at half time. So I can totally understand. And the
fact is, you've then got a front 3 that can interchange, because Miggy can go in the middle, and Isak, or Maxi can go in the middle, and so the front three are completely interchangeable.
Maxi and Almiron could easily swap wings partway
Exactly.
through the game.
Yeah, because Miggy's almost getting back to what it was like before he had all those amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And then even so, Isak could maybe swap and Maxi could go in the middle. Yeah, so there's different options in that, because this is the one thing Maxi sometimes likes to come into the centre. So if he's in the centre anyway, I just think with that one, you've got that fluid front line, which means if, let's say, Maxi's not getting a lot of success with the right back, he can go, let's see how the left back's going to cope with me.
Yeah,
so it's just those sort of things.
And it keeps the defence guessing.
Exactly, because you're not going to know. You then look at and I'm actually going to say it's less and less and less. Oh, there we go, Michael. Oh, he's back.
I'm in and out. I don't know what's going on here.
Because like I said,
pedaling fast enough.
The argument for Willock is that you've got that interchange between Willock and Joe Linton on the left-hand side, which happens, but I would say probably less and less now. Because in the last couple of games, I've seen Joe Linton sticking more and more into the centre aspect, and Willock being more on the wing. And this is it's one of those. It's difficult to drop any of the players that have been playing, because you're looking at Willock and going, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
But then but then I'm looking and I'm going, you don't drop Bruno if he's fit. You don't drop Longstaff, because I think he gives something in that midfield that no one else does.
Yeah.
And I just think if you take that out, you're losing that, and that's that tenacity and that work rate and stuff. And not everything may go off, but that it doesn't fit any player. I just think you're losing that. But then I also think, because of Dan Burn, you don't want to lose Joe Linton, because Joe Linton does a lot of that backtracking, which, if we are going to play ASM, you've got to have Joe Linton there to do that. But then again, and I will hold my hand up and say, in the Fulham game, Maxi was tracking back more.
He was, yes.
So it does look as if he's changing the name, but I just think, I know we're saying it's hard, but it's not that hard when we're going to drop Wilson, but we're going to be putting with 70 million striker in.
I mean,
and we're going to give Willock a rest, but we're going to bring St. Maximin in. So it might be hard decisions.
We don't want to sound churlish, do we? Because we're in this position, and we all sound like we're complaining, and we're not.
Yeah,
we're just going. We just want to get through this. Eddie said today, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said basically, yes, a semi-finals are fine, but that's not what we want. We want the final.
He says, he went, it's just a semi-final.
Yeah, it's just a semi-final. And that's why we got to have so much hope, really, because we just got to put trust in him. As we said, since that Fulham away game where he picked that side, and we all went, what? Everyone's got to have faith in him. So, and we've come such a long way.
I think we've seen that on a couple of games where you've went, really? But maybe with exception to the Sheffield Wednesday game. To be fair, and this is the thing, though, I actually still thought that lineup, when I looked at it, I thought, well, I understand it completely, because the Leicester game's the bigger of the two ties that we'd had, and I still thought we do. Now, whether or not those players had the same mindset as what I did, which was, we've won this game already.
Yes.
I don't know, or whether
and also the fact that they're not good enough as well. I'm afraid some of them came in.
I still think one of the issues with them, and that's why I don't want to make too many decisions, because I think one of the issues with what happened at Sheffield Wednesday was too many players came in that haven't been playing together.
Just weren't ready for it.
So they haven't got that chemistry. That you don't know what the others are doing. So that's where I think there was a bit of an issue on that one. Mm-hmm. So basically, we've settled on the lineup. So it's Pope, same back line, midfield of Bruno, Longstaff, and Big Joe. And then your front three, I'll overrule and make the decision there. It's going to be Miggy, Isak, and Maxi.
I would not be upset if that was the starting 11. I would not be like, what's he doing?
But I also sort of think that could happen. This is something where I think there may be a little bit of a surprise in
I think the Isak thing as well.
I think it's,
to be honest, the massive surprise was Bruno starting on
yes,
I was thinking
the bionic man.
There is a God, and he is a Geordie.
I think there is probably is worth touching on why we're like having this selection headache though, and why we're sort of contemplating it. And it is a bit weird because it's like we're not losing games, but we're not scoring a lot of goals. We're not playing badly, and we're dominating games. And it's like you got to get obviously to get through a cup final. You're gonna have to score a goal at least. So what do we do?
And cup competitions. So
yeah, exactly. And I think
wouldn't be an issue for us because we'd be knocked out. Yeah, previously you'd be like
exactly.
What's this? Yeah,
we've got 2 weeks off. It's fine, you know. We can relax.
Well,
we can laugh at other teams and watching their opponents, and we'll just chill until West Ham.
The larger point I wanted to get at was like, it feels like in a weird way we've been here before a few times this season. Not necessarily that we've had a goal drought, but we've been presented, the team has been playing well, but there's a problem. And it persists for a couple of games. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do? What's Eddie Howe going to do? How's he going to react? And we've all kind of sat here and, you know, every fan I know has done this and gone, I don't really see what he can do to get around this. And he always seems to come up with an answer. So we've just got to hope that he does again. I mean, I personally think what it is this team has evolved. Yeah, it's growing pains. This team is having to evolve so much, so quickly, in such a short space of time. It's ridiculous what they're having to do. Like, we have gone from having the worst defensive record of any team in a calendar year to the best this season and playing a completely different style of football, even from just sort of the end of last season. I mean, Chris Wood leaving the club tells you a lot about that. It's like we signed a striker in January. He absolutely fit our system and did what we needed to do to keep us up. And now it's next January, and he already looked like well outgrown him. It wasn't just that we outgrown him a bit; we way outgrown him. And now he's moved on.
Sorry, Mark. There's no way they would have thought that we were going to, you know. I mean, we've outstripped where we should be. They probably thought we would be in this position in about 3 seasons' time, where we would be like in the top 3 and in the semi-final for the first time in you know, nearly 2 decades. So we're running faster than the club can keep up, really.
Exactly.
I mean, it's simple as that. We're so far ahead of where we should be, and we haven't got the players for it. And we all know that. We all know that this after the starting 11 and maybe 13 or 14, we're no different to anybody else. They're just so quick. You know, getting to where the owners must be going, well, what do we do? I mean, do we, you know, you got FFP and all this. I mean, can we keep up? You know, I mean, it's almost like we're running to catch ourselves up most of the time. It's extraordinary what's happened to us in a year. Absolutely extraordinary.
And the reason I bring it up is because obviously, and quite rightly, some fans are getting a bit frustrated at the moment because of the lack of goals. I can totally understand that. I'm frustrated myself. But sometimes you just got to take a step back and go, what these players have been asked to do, how quickly this team has been asked to evolve in quality, style of play, the personnel that we're using, the different tactics that Howe's implementing. It's massive. I mean, it's a monumental shift.
But just to clear that point, whilst we're frustrated that we haven't been scoring goals, we are still 3rd in the Premier League.
Exactly.
We have had 6 consecutive Premier League clean sheets. We are unbeaten in 15 games, which is a record by an English manager in the Premier League. It's also a club record. So that's where we played 20 games and we've conceded 11 goals, but had 12 clean sheets. So we basically had more clean sheets.
We haven't let more than one goal in since August, have we? I mean,
but the last time we conceded was Southampton.
I mean, it's just
and the last goal we conceded at St James's Park was against Brentford. So you're looking at those things and going, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, there's games where you look at it. We drew against Leeds and we probably deserved something more. I probably think we deserved, a win against Palace. But this is a Palace side that historically we've had really difficult results against. So I still don't think 4 points out of the games against Fulham and Palace, home and away, are a bad thing. Fulham are a good side. So if we're looking at that side, Fulham are a really good side. They're technically challenging for Europe as it is, and we kept a clean sheet against them.
And we're still creating chances as well. It's not like we didn't have a single shot on target on Saturday night. We had like 7 and 5 on target, something like that.
But also just to bring in one of the games where we didn't score was at the home of Arsenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that.
Aside that had won every single one of their home games and has scored in every Premier League game.
Yeah,
exactly.
Until they met us. So, because that's the thing, I think a lot of us were looking at the game yesterday against Manchester United and thinking that draws looks a bigger result than what it was, to be able to go there and to keep it at 0-0, because Arsenal are a really good side.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to be naive and go, no, we're on the same level as Arsenal and Man City.
No, but that's why we didn't lose, because we didn't go try and punch to punch with like Man United did. I
think we did to a point, but I think even Eddie Howe says, look, sometimes you've got to play a way that you don't necessarily like to try and get a result. I would say this: if we come away from Southampton tomorrow not losing, then I think we're in a strong, an extremely strong position.
Agreed. I also think Michael brings up a great point as well, in the sense that it's not like our chances have dried up. We're still creating chances.
No.
So we just need someone. I think partly it's just been a bit unlucky, and partly players have had an isolated nightmare here and there in terms of the finish.
Yeah, because if you look at some of the finish, I think we maybe had four headers on Saturday against Palace, but every single one of them landed directly at the keeper. Yeah, whereas if they'd managed to be able to get that little bit more sort of light elevation on that to get control over the ball, either side of the keeper, you're talking about a different result there. So it's just those things. Just obviously to confirm on that, tomorrow night's game and obviously the subsequent one next Tuesday will both have VAR. The referee for tomorrow's game is Stuart Atwell.
All right.
And the last game he refereed for us was away at St. Mary's, where we won 4-1.
I'll take that again.
So on that side, now what we'll do is we'll go to predictions. As everyone knows, I do not do predictions, so I'm not going to do them.
How do I get this deal?
Well, I would as well then.
Well, put it this way: when you've been on as long a run of getting good results as I have by sticking with these superstitions, then I'm not changing.
No, I don't blame you.
Who do we go for first? Who's going to be the one?
I don't mind going first, because after everything we've
just
said,
then we'll go to Michael first.
After everything we just said, like I said, we're not being churlish. We should be so optimistic about tomorrow night, and we are, because Southampton were the team we all wanted. They are bottom of the Premier League for a reason. They're not there because they've had lots of bad luck. They're just, it's simple as that. We should be supremely confident tomorrow night going into that game. Simple as that. Not because aren't we fantastically? No, because it's all shaping up for us. We've only got these 2 games to think about for 2 weeks. We're playing the bottom of the league club. We should be really optimistic. And I'm going to say 2-2, because every time I do, we don't lose. And that's all that matters tomorrow.
So you went for Desmond?
Yes.
I prefer the scoreline that's been posted in the chat.
Desmond.
Desmond 2-2. Yeah. The 2-0 to 2-0. I would love to see that. From your lips, Carl, to the footballing god's ears. But I'm going to go 1-1. I think 1-1. But I'd back us to finish the job at St James's Park.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just.
You can't get out of this habit of feeling it's all going to go pear-shaped.
No, and especially
that's
after
the
the
problem.
last
but I am very confident tomorrow night.
Yeah, the last couple of games has knocked my confidence a bit, and I'm just hoping it hasn't knocked the confidence of the players too much. I know I'm being pessimistic. I see that in the chat as well, but I am. That is in my nature. I'm a naturally pessimistic individual. So
I am not a half glass full man.
Yeah. Do you think if we get an early goal, then that might change?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that really is the key. I was talking to one of my friends about this after the game on Saturday. Said if we scored a goal, say just before halftime or something against Palace, not even an early goal, just before halftime, I think we go on to win the game by 3 or 4. I really do. I mean, the game that typifies that this season was the Villa game at home, where it was looking a bit attritional. It looked a lot like the opening day of the season against Forest.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Miggy wins the penalty. Penalty goes away. We come out in the second half and blitz them.
Yeah.
What, in the 66th minute of added on time in the first half?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they did have their keeper taken off, but that's still... It was wild. It was, there's no reason not to feel slightly optimistic, guys. Come on.
Because if we do get a goal early doors, that forces the opposition to open up. And that's, I mean, if you give our attack a bit of space, there's lots of talent there to finish. You know, I think I said it in our group chat the other day. We've got a Champions League level defense and like a 7th or 8th.
A Europa Conference level.
Yeah, a Europa Conference League level attack. And that's nothing against the lads that we've got there at the moment. It's just, it has become a little bit predictable. Teams have basically worked out like, well, don't give Wilson any space. Don't let Almiron cut in, crowd out Bruno. And you'll probably get a bit of luck out of that. It's your best chance. No one's got a plan to beat us. But plenty of teams have got a plan how to draw against us.
Best thing is that Southampton think they can play with us tomorrow night. They're going to come out. We're going to be bold. 100%. That's the best thing that could happen to
100%.
us.
But I think they've got to, because I think they've got to think we need to get a positive result there, because I think they're probably in their mindset know that there's probably not much of a chance in the second leg.
If we don't beat them at St James's, then we don't deserve to go through.
Exactly. But you've just mentioned obviously the plan over like the marking of Miggy and that. But that's why I think bringing on ASM is the perfect one, because they're going to have to sacrifice a couple, maybe 2 or 3 players to be trying to keep him quiet. Yeah. And by doing that, you're gonna be leaving space somewhere in the pitch for the other players, whether or not that be a Sean Longstaff or a Bruno or a Big Joe or even Isak. And I also think on that sense, Isak seems to have a little bit more presence in the air from that sense. There's just something on that.
I think you're right.
And I just think sometimes, although I will say, I think there was one corner routine that nearly came off for us. I think it was early in the first half. I don't know whether it was a corner or a free kick, but there was a routine that was done.
Oh, it was a free kick.
Yes.
Trippier played it short. Yeah, if Bruno had got like just a tiny bit more on it, I think that would have ended up in the back of the net.
Exactly.
The perfect height for the header.
Exactly. So it's one of those things of look, that I think we're just look, I'm not being, but if this is our bad spell and we're still getting points and we're not conceding, then that's what you want. If you can go through a bad period but you're not losing games, then that's great, and you come back through the other side. But what we'll do is we'll wrap it up there before we start reminiscing on other things and dreaming of other players and stuff like that. What we'll do is we'll leave it there. There will be another show, the Look Ahead show, obviously, because we've got no game this weekend, and obviously that days may change, our times may change, but we'll certainly look at that later on, and we'll post the schedule on here so you will be aware if you want to come and watch it. But we'll leave it at that. I'll cross my fingers for tomorrow, and we'll see you later in the week for the Look Ahead show. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.